Welcome to this edition of ExperTEES, where I'm pleased to be joined by CEO of Pacifica Group, Kevin Brown. Today we'll be discussing the benefits of investing in software using a digital partnership and all the benefits that this will bring a company that are on a growth journey.
So Pacifica Group, fundamentally we do three things. We provide services to manufacturers for the repair of their appliances. We do somewhere in the region of 6,500 repairs a week. Well in excess of 300,000 repairs a year on that side of the business. We've then got our home services business. So we're dealing with the stuff in your home that you cannot see. We provide repair functionality, so we'll come and fix it if it goes wrong, but we also do a lot of installations. So we will replace your old system with a new system. So we're either replacing an old gas heated boiler or gas boiler with a new air source heat pump or something similar from a renewable technology point of view. And then lastly, we have our warranty business, which is where we interact with Sapia, and we're providing extended warranties to customers who want to increase the protection that they get over and above the manufacturer's guarantee.
Kevin, Sapia and Pacifica Group have been working together for almost a decade now. Can you tell us how that has evolved in the partnership that it is and how that's benefited the team and yourself?
Yeah, so we've been working together for a good while now, and in the initial piece of work that we undertook was the digitization of our warranty business. The reason that we started using Sapia, it was all around the fact that we could see the amount of manual paperwork that we were having to deal with increasing. We looked forward and thought, well, if we want to get the business to a certain level, what we cannot have is all this paperwork multiplying. We looked to do a couple of things. Firstly is to digitize the collection of the data that was required. Secondly, being able to produce digital paperwork for submission to the likes of the energy company and the government, as well as the warranty system. So we had lots of customers who were ringing us to say, I've just bought an AEG washing machine, I need to register it. So those customers were ringing in, and we had to give them some digital functionality to allow them to do that themselves.
In those past 9 years, or 9 years ago if you like, because it was nearly 10, what made you reach out to a software company like Sapia for assistance?
Yeah, so as you know, we've got our own in-house development team. We've got a bunch of guys that are located in London. Actually, they're all located all over the world now with what's happened with COVID. And they were dedicated to our CRM system. So I think initially it was a test and learn. It was the first time we'd used an external developer. So if you got it wrong, we wouldn't be sat here today.
Done something right.
You've done something right, yeah. So I think that was definitely it wasn't a gamble. It was a calculated risk, to use an external developer, and one that's really paid dividends across the years, I think. Sapia were recommended to us. So I got into a conversation with Paul. I wanted to choose someone locally. So many years ago when we started this business, we did some offshore development with an outsourcer. That didn't go very well. So I definitely would be very wary of ever doing that again. So I wanted to choose someone locally. I guess I just wanted to get my hands on them if I needed to. That was probably one of my psychological factors in this whole decision-making process. But also, from the northeast, and I wanted to make sure that we try and keep, some of that in the northeast. A combination of the recommendation and the locality of the business got me into the initial conversation. I mean, obviously from there, it's about their capabilities and the relationship you develop.
So we've discussed over the years the commercial benefit to taking on a digital partner like ourselves that have got boundaries. We've got to hit certain timescales, we've got to deliver things in a timely way to make money. Did that factor into your equation when you were considering a digital partnership versus bringing somebody in that probably don't have those constraints around them?
Yeah, interesting question, because some of the advantages of outsourcing development work is precisely what you've described. You detail the specification, you detail the time scale, yeah, and you detail the parameters. And commercially, you're working to those parameters. So for me, I've got to make sure that I get that right. And for you, you've got to make sure that your guys are putting enough time and effort in to achieve the outcome in the right time scale. You know, certainly a balance financially, but I think it's a healthy balance that we've got, you know, with Sapia at the moment.
So talk me through the process then. How does it work from your point of view, working with Sapia, a week to week or a month by month sort of process, if you like?
Yeah, so it obviously starts with the idea, doesn't it? So the worst thing I guess you can do is actually create a new bit of software, because people always want something new, right? But we're quite rigid in that, and what we do is we get a version 1 out, and then over time people will request additions to that. People will have new modules that they want to add to that. We then internally go into you IT guys would call it a scrum, wouldn't you? You've got these wonderful words that you use.
Or sprint.
Or sprint, is it? I think you're going to a scrum first and then a sprint. Yeah. Well, we'll get into a scrum, and we'll actually just talk about the idea, and then myself and a couple of the guys will listen to what the financial benefits or the operational benefits are going to be for undertaking the project. Something will come out of that, and then that will turn into a very, very high level, this is what we want to do, you know, which is discussed with your team.
So let's talk about the core products then. So we've got EcoMaster that we can see behind us on screen, Warranty Online, which you've alluded to already, which is this market-leading piece of software where we started this journey nearly 10 years ago, and PG Connect. So do you want to talk us through some of those, probably starting with EcoMaster, because it's...
Yeah, so EcoMaster's a bit special really. Part of our business operates a number of government initiatives to reduce carbon for customers, reduce the energy bills of customers, and that involves us ultimately installing something like an air source heat pump, solar PV, a new gas boiler, some insulation in your home. You know, so we'll come out and do an assessment, determine what's needed, and then at the end of it we'll fit something. And the criteria around qualification and evidence gathering was immense. You know, for just to install loft insulation to a customer's home, we would have to complete somewhere in the region of 24 documents from the government. So we started that journey completing those things on hard copy. You cannot run a business like that, so you know, in the background we started the EcoMaster project.
So I use EcoMaster every day to send jobs through to engineers. Just makes it more efficient when they're getting documents signed and filling in all the paperwork. Otherwise, we would just have to do all paper copies, scan them in constantly, and it just makes it more of a nightmare for our admin team. Whereas on this, they'll just be able to pull the jobs through on our end straight away, and then filter through them and get all the details instantly, pretty much, as soon as they upload it, either on site or some of them just go back home and upload it from there.
So the initial project with Sapia was Warranty Online. So we had a need to digitise customer registrations and the ability for customers to purchase extended warranties. That's where it started. That then moved on to PG Connect.
So let's just talk a little bit about PG Connect and how that interacts with Warranty Online. Can you tell us a bit more about how that works?
What PG Connect enables us to do is actually build a communication relationship with the end customer. So we can say, you know, send this bit of information at this point in time. If the customer responds in one of 4 different ways, then do 4 different alternative things, you know. And it's a bit like a Visio diagram, you know. If this happens, do this. If that happens, do that. And you kind of build those communication plans in PG Connect, and you can give them a start date and an end date. And that system will just run autonomously in the background and communicate with the customer as and when the customer, you know, needs to be spoken to or needs to be provided with some key information. So Call Connect's the next module, and you know, we're a regulated business, so we have scripts that we have to use when we're speaking to customers, and all of our calls are recorded. But we've got people who audit those calls. Yeah, we've got human beings that are listening to all these calls and making sure that we ask the right thing at the right time in the right way. And what Call Connect enables us to do is digitally make sure that that question is asked, and digitally make sure that the right answer is collected.
How would you describe working with a digital partner? How has that added value over the years to the Pacifica Group? If you can kind of summarise that, or can you summarise it?
Yeah, I mean, the way I would look at it is that if you're growing your business and you are dealing with a lot of inbound or a lot of customer interactions, whatever those interactions are in that particular business unit, if you want to ramp up that volume, the most expensive resource that you can have in your business is the person on the end of the phone to answer that, that query or that registration. So from my point of view, it's enabled us to scale up the number of customers that we deal with on a monthly basis and keep control of the fixed overhead base. The two key projects that we've developed, Warranty Online and EcoMaster, along with PG Connect, that kind of fits in with Warranty Online. They have enabled our warranty business to grow at a faster rate than I ever thought they could do. And that's simply because we're able to do things more digitally. It's also meant that we have been able to beat our competition at when we're tendering for contracts on the warranty side. So we can now deploy our warranty system fully branded to a client, and we can do that within 24 hours, where with our competitors, those projects take months to do. So it's enabled us to gain more clients as well as deal with more customers. Yeah.
So what else is around the corner then? What else are you working on? What's the grand plan, next piece of software?
Yeah, so I think the new version of EcoMaster, that'll be the next big module, and we've got a top secret project on the go with your guys, which I can't really talk about today.
So what would you say to other businesses that are looking to use a digital partnership to help with their internal software needs, that may be concerned about the cost, the risk, not really knowing about the process, how it works? How could you help them come to the decision? You've got
to make that decision yourself, whether you think that's which route's for you. Once you've kind of chosen to outsource it, then you really need to sit down with someone like yourself, and talk about the project. It may be possible, it might not be possible. There might be a better way of doing it. You need to listen to the best advice. I could name a few people in our business who have great ideas, but I've got no ability at all at creating a detailed spec for someone like yourself. But that's fine, right? They're good at what they do. You've just got to make sure that you get all the interested stakeholders in a room. Don't be afraid to pay an organisation like yourselves to produce a detailed spec. It's not money down the drain, because even if you don't outsource it, you've still got that specification. You could give it to your internal people. Ultimately, as a CEO, you've got to look at, well, what is the benefit to the business? Once all that's done, it's a great idea, it can be done. We know how much it's going to cost, and it's going to cost, it's going to cost £1, but it's going to save us £5 in the long run. After that, it's about choosing a good partner, and we have chosen some outsourced partners in the past that have been good. We've chosen some that have been not so good. Guess I hit lucky with you guys, yeah?
It had to happen, didn't it?
Had to happen eventually, yeah? You kiss enough frogs, yeah? Eventually you'll get a prince. It's just making sure that you meet someone who's got your best interests at heart, and has got the skills and the capability of delivering what you want. Because there's a vast difference between a company that can make you a website and a customer that can create you a CRM system. They're like chalk and cheese. It's just making sure that you take the time and you put the effort in to speak to a few companies and make the right choice.
How would you know you'd found the right one though? Now you've got all this experience that you've kissed and you've found a prince.
You're not going to know until you're partway through the process, right? And if you're going to do something, maybe a bit of test and learn on a bite-sized chunk is a good idea. Like I say, we've started with version 1 of Warranty Online, and the thing's an absolute beast now. So I think that's probably an indication of how we work together as a team.
Just reiterate that. I think that is the best way to do it. Start small, but make sure it's properly specced out, because unless you've done that properly, and that does, like you say, it takes an awful long time to do that, to get it to a point where it's development ready. That's the best process, because then you get what you want, rather than an idea that somebody in the room's come up with and then you just go for it, because that'll result in a bad piece of software.
100%. And you know, if you don't take your ops team along on the journey, it'll fail.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll fail because if you impose something on people, unless they really, really, really have to use it, you know, then they just won't. They won't use it. If they feel part of the decision-making process and they've had an input into the specification, you know, in just a small way, and they're involved in the testing and the implementation, then the adoption of these things is so much better. Yeah. Well, I would recommend them. Yeah. So I've had a very positive experience. And look, you know, when you've got a 9 or 10 year relationship, it's like, you know, it's like being married for 9 or 10 years, right? Things don't go right all the time, but it's about people's ability to react, you know, and they are very good, you know, when things don't go quite right, yep, put the hands up and that gets corrected. When we don't specify something correctly, you know, we'll put our hands up and say, yep, hasn't quite gone according to plan. But in the main, it does. If you're going to use Sapia, you have got to be committed to putting just as much time in as they are. So you've got to make sure that you understand what you want, listen to their feedback, because the majority of it's good, you know, and then together make sure you get a specification that truly reflects what you want the outcome to be. Have a bit of trust that in the middle, you know, they will do things that are in the best interests of your business. May not necessarily be the way that you thought it was going to get developed, or even using the software that you thought that they should use, you know. So you've got to have a bit of trust there as well, I think.
As part of our expertise sessions, we're going to ask you some feature questions that are fun and digital related, so we can find out a bit more about your tech habits, if you like, on your phone. So what was your first gadget that you ever had?
First gadget. First significant gadget would probably be the first iPhone.
All right.
Yeah.
Have you still got it?
I have.
Oh, wow, that'll be worth a bit now.
I know, I've got it like tucked away in a secret location. Yeah, so I had the Sony Ericsson, I think it was the K900 or something it was, which was a great phone, right? Mm-hmm. But then the first iPhone came out, and I'm a bit of a techie, I love tech, so went and got it. And yeah, it was, I guess it's been a revelation, hasn't it, that thing?
Oh,
so,
totally.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my first gadget.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much for your time, and it's been, you know, certainly beneficial from my point of view to get that message across about how partnering with a digital expert can help your business. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely been beneficial to us. You know, it's I get challenged off the CFO as to why, you know, but I can quite easily demonstrate the benefits, you know, so that keeps him quiet for a bit longer anyway.
At Sapia, we've successfully partnered with numerous businesses on a digital partnership front, and they've reaped the benefits over the years. So we're looking for similar type businesses of that nature that are looking to also benefit, that might not know how to do it. You may have your own digital team and need additional support. So come and speak to us.